You want to hear this story like it's coming straight from the porch, real unfiltered, and all in one long rolling breath. So pull up a chair because I've got one hell of a tale for you, and I'm going to tell it the way it happened. No speeches, no pausing for effect. Just the kind of hard-earned truth you only get after living through hell with your boots on. Here's how it starts. Your wife's been dead for years, darling. Time to modernize and join the real world. That's what Cordelia Whitmore sneered at me while her bulldozers rolled in at dawn. No warning, no permission, just carving an $80,000 concrete bike path right through my cattle pasture like I was supposed to thank her for it. Diesel smoke so thick you could chew it. Grass flattened under treads, my 30 head of prize Black Angus scattering, looking at me like I was supposed to fix this. "This is working ranch land," I yelled, and she just smirked, flashing those fake easement papers, filming the whole thing on her phone. "Your cows can graze elsewhere, sweetie. Progress waits for no one." What she didn't know, what she forgot, is this was Taurus's territory. My 200-pound champion bull, the real king of this ranch. Bulls don't care about progress, especially when you park a shiny Tesla in their feeding ground. 3 months after that little stunt, her husband's brand new Tesla became a $100,000 pile of scrap, thanks to some creative behavioral science and a whole lot of bad karma. I've got the footage to prove it, too legendary stuff. So let me back up and walk you through the whole mess from the first trespass to the final glorious payback. Name's Dutch Kellerman, third-generation rancher. I've been running these 47 acres since '95 after my granddad passed and left them to me. 30 registered Black Angus Sunrise painting the pasture gold every morning, the smell of fresh hay, the sound of Sarah's laugh echoing off the barn walls. She's been gone 18 months now. Cancer. Took her fast, took her brutal, left this place feeling too big and way too quiet. Some mornings I'd catch myself saving up stories to tell her, only to stare at that empty kitchen chair, realize it'd stay empty no matter how many headlines I clipped. Grief's a funny thing, makes time crawl and fly, at the same time gives you too much silence, not enough purpose. That's right about when Willowbrook Heights sprouted up next door, 200 identical McMansions, each worth more than my entire herd. Neighbors who wanted the country vibe but whined when my rooster crowed. Folks who paid extra for farm-fresh eggs at Whole Foods but called the county about the smell of agriculture floating in from my barn. And that's how Cordelia Whitmore rolled in. 49, ex-corporate lawyer from California, thought she'd run our county like her old Silicon Valley boardroom. President of the HOA, 3 terms, running white Tesla with EcoFam plates, yoga pants more expensive than my best saddle, never once dirtied her hands on actual soil. Every disagreement was a hostile takeover. PowerPoints, legal threats, letters typed in Comic Sans, which honestly is a crime all its own. Her husband Brad was some tech exec, moved here for a high-paying job, brought their unique brand of California politeness that turns every conversation into a lawsuit threat. First, it was complaints about my cattle waking her up at dawn. Black Angus, you see, don't read the HOA manual. Then it was letters about agricultural odors impacting property values, as if you could ever mistake the smell of honest work for anything but life happening. Every Tuesday without fail, a new legal threat in my mailbox. Relocate your livestock to align with modern community standards. As if Texas ever cared what Silicon Valley thought about community standards. Here's the thing about easements, though. Nobody gets to build on your land without your written consent. Some dusty old paper from the 1960s doesn't mean squat unless the landowner signs off. Cordelia found a recreational easement in the county records, tried to turn it into her personal right-of-way, even though it just said emergency vehicles could pass, not a damn word about bike paths. This is the same pasture Taurus claimed as his own. He'd chase off anything from delivery trucks to the wind if he felt ornery. But on a cold Tuesday, I came outside to surveyors spray painting bright orange X's on my oldest oaks trees, older than Cordelia's entire family tree. No phone call, no knock, just trespass with blueprints. I told the surveyor to scram. He barely looked up, mumbled something about HOA infrastructure. And there was Cordelia grinning by my fence, filming as if she'd finally cornered me. But I'd spent 30 years learning animal behavior, and I knew how to play the long game. Within 48 hours, she escalated to legal warfare, a cease and desist letter accusing me of interfering with approved municipal development signed by some strip mall attorney whose office sits between a payday loan and a nail salon. That's never a good sign. She kept filing complaints, said Taurus menaced innocent joggers. Never mind, those joggers were her surveyors, and they were trespassing armed with tripods and spray paint. The letter escalated: move my cattle or face seizure and auction. I was obstructing public works apparently by standing on my own land and asking questions. Time to fight fire with fire. I hired Mackenzie Reeves, a local lawyer who actually understands ag law and works out of a real office, not a strip mall. She tore through Cordelia's easement documents and found what I'd guessed. The paper was for emergency vehicle access, only nothing about public recreation, nothing about converting it without new consent and signatures. And guess what? Cordelia had forged my name. Badly. Turns out Cordelia's California law license was yanked 3 years ago for, you guessed it, ethics violations and forged signatures. She was practicing law in Texas illegally, making every complaint she filed less valuable than a soggy napkin. While Mackenzie built our defense and countersuit, I started my own little project, Project Payback. 30 years with cattle, you learn animals can be trained to do all sorts of things, especially if there's molasses involved. I started playing car alarm sounds, specifically Tesla alarms, during Taurus's feeding time, tossing him treats whenever he wandered toward the noise. Day by day, he learned to hear that sound, move toward it, get a reward. Simple, effective, Justice Texas style. Meanwhile, Cordelia wasn't letting up. She brought in her brother-in-law, Richard, Dr. Peaton. Spoiler, not a doctor, just a bankrupt guy with a business degree to fake water tests and prove my cows were polluting the creek. She handed out glossy flyers, claimed a health emergency. Only turns out her so-called lab was just his guest bedroom, and the real EPA confirmed my grazing improved water quality. If anything, it was the HOA's own chemical fertilizers trashing the pond downstream. Neighbors started taking sides. Some bought into Cordelia's environmental scare tactics. Others, like Vernon Jacobson, a retired engineer, ran their own tests, quietly backed me up. All the while, Taurus learned to chase that 1-200 Hertz Tesla alarm like it owed him money. But Cordelia doubled down. Hired Apex Security to patrol my fence, a bunch of Craigslist hires with records longer than my boot. She started sabotaging water troughs, slashing my truck tires, even shot my cattle with pellet guns while I was visiting Sarah's grave. When Mackenzie subpoenaed HOA records, we found Cordelia was embezzling community funds to pay her security, federal wire fraud, racketeering, you name it. That's when the feds got involved. Mackenzie worked with a forensic accountant, uncovered nearly $900,000 stolen from Willowbrook Heights, all laundered through fake contracts and shady vendors. Brad's company was collapsing. Their last hope was flipping my land to a developer for millions, and the bike path, just the first step. But here's the twist. Years ago, my wife Sarah had helped take down Cordelia's law license in California. All of this was her revenge. Every move, from moving to Texas to the path running through Sarah's memorial grove, it was about tormenting me for loving the woman who exposed her. FBI lined up charges: racketeering, mail fraud, wire fraud, attempted bribery. And they wanted to arrest her at the next HOA meeting for maximum effect, public on camera. But I wanted more. I wanted justice, and I wanted it loud. So I fine-tuned Taurus's training. I set up a remote-controlled gate, lined up local media, and made sure Cordelia would park her Tesla right by the fence. Mackenzie and I staged negotiations in public so Cordelia would think she'd won. Come the big night, the community center was packed, 300 people, news crews, FBI agents hiding in plain sight. Cordelia strutted in, all smiles, announced her victory from the podium, flashed plans for the bike path. Mackenzie stood up, called her out for forged signatures, showed the receipts on the big screen, and then boom, Agent Martinez stepped in with the cuffs. But Cordelia, true to form, panicked, bolted for the exit, jamming her Tesla's panic alarm. That's when Taurus heard his cue. I hit the gate release on my phone. The bull charged out 200 pounds of righteous, behaviorally conditioned payback. He hit that Tesla like a wrecking ball, turned $100,000 of progress into twisted scrap. The crowd cheered. Agents hauled Cordelia and Brad off in handcuffs, and I handed her civil suit papers right there on the ruined hood. Progress waits for no bull, sweetie, I said, just loud enough for every camera. In the end, Cordelia got 7 years, Brad got 5. The Fed seized everything down to the yoga pants, and the HOA elected Vernon as the new president. They finished the bike path around my property with proper easements and put up a bench overlooking the pasture dedicated to Sarah. Settlement money started a scholarship for young farmers in her name. My land's under conservation now, protected forever. Taurus became a local legend, 15 million views on his bull versus Tesla video breeding rights booked for years. And you know what? I healed little by little, found purpose in the fight and joy in the outcome. The ranch is peaceful again, Sarah's memory honored not by grief but by growth. And every evening when the sun turns the grass gold, I sit on that memorial bench and remember justice isn't always quick, but it's damn sure worth waiting for. So here's what I ask you: if you've ever tangled with a bully, lost something precious, or just wondered where the line is between fighting back and letting go, what would you do in my boots? Where does justice end and karma take over? Drop your thoughts below, share your own stories, or just let me know if you're rooting for Taurus. Because sometimes the only way to deal with a bully is to train a bull. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button, share your take on justice, and stick around. There's always another wild HOA tale just around the corner.